Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Cretsinger, and I'm the Director of Special Services for the Marshalltown School District. Thank you for continuing to watch these videos as we're putting them together to try to support you during our time of closure. Now, a lot's happened since our last meeting. Last Thursday, our governor determined that schools, or at least access to the buildings, should remain closed for the remainder of whatever school calendar was created by the district. I think this is an important topic to discuss today because there seems to be some clarification needed around what does it mean for our schools to be closed through the end of the school year, which for us means through the first week of June, as well as all those terms being thrown out: voluntary education, distance learning, remote education. Now, like you, I spend quite a bit of time reading and trying to understand all the information being put out there: websites, news media resources, the TV. And I did want to add a clarification. They're using terms like remote learning, distance learning. But truly, I don't think that defines what's going on for us right now. I would call it crisis education. And here's why I say that. Usually schools have 6 months or greater, even up to a year, to plan how to do an initiative and do it well. There's a lot of thought that has to go into the training required, the resources required. What are we going to ask our students to do? What's reasonable? How do we get information to families who aren't able to access online learning? And in this situation, we didn't have that kind of time. What usually takes a half a year or greater to put together, we asked our teachers to do in 10 days. So it does look a little bit disjointed compared to when you think about online learning and what it could look like. Our district continues to do their absolute best to improve our website, but please understand that this kind of learning is really coming out of a sudden crisis that landed in our laps. We did not have a lot of time to plan, and we're doing our absolute best to try to support you and your families, as well as our teachers and our other staff members during this time of closure. Because they are at home, like you, and they are trying to do everything they can to support their families, both by taking care of them, as well as trying to be an educator and support your children. So I want to thank our teachers and all of our staff, our administrators, our school board, for everything they're doing to try to make this as reasonable as possible for everyone. And I want to thank you, the parents, because you didn't sign up to be a teacher either. And as quickly as we tried to put information together, you found yourself trying to be a teacher in your day-to-day for your children. If you didn't understand what it was like to be a teacher or had a clear idea on what teachers' day looks like, I think everyone now has a little bit better sense. But again, we're not asking you to be teachers. Now, there are a few things you can do that may make your life a little bit easier at home and help your children stay engaged in their learning. Through our Learn at Home website, and again, you can go to the main Marshalltown District website and find a link to this specially developed website to try to assist you during this time. But within our Learn from Home website, our teachers every week are creating different kinds of learning opportunities, different kinds of lessons, things that can really help our students stay engaged in learning and keep their skills up as much as possible until traditional school reopens. Some other things you can do: try to keep a schedule. I know that's easier said than done. I know I find myself having trouble with that with my own children, but do the best you can to keep a schedule. What time should they get up in the morning? What time is learning if you're having them engage in it? What time is lunch? What time is bedtime? What does that nighttime routine look like? Do all the things as close as possible to what you would usually do. Another topic I want to talk about today is regarding the term trauma. People use that word all the time, they throw it around, and it has a lot of different meanings. So trauma or traumatic effects, in my mind, the best way to describe it is anytime an event happens, it can be a short event or it can be a really long event, that really influences and impacts how we think about things, how we perceive things, how we respond to situations. That in effect is traumatic. Now, one of the aspects of trauma is really stress. How do you handle your stress? How do you deal with your stress on a day-to-day basis? In our regular lives, we deal with stress all the time. whether it's our children, family situations, work situations, financial situations, there's always stress going on. But our body has learned to deal with that in a certain way in our mind. And most of the time, that's pretty healthy. One of the important things is that we become so used to that normal day to day stress that our body knows how to calm down and relax after we have an exposure to that. Now, the way things are going right now, with most of you being at home, all kinds of questions going on about learning, your families are at home, you have concerns about health, there's a lot of things that are making life really stressful for us. And because of that, if something happens that creates stress in your life, whether it's a little bit over time or a lot all at once, we don't have the chance to calm down like we normally would. And we hear terms like self-regulation to describe this. It's important to understand that if we're not able to find the time to calm ourselves down to a relaxed state, people are going to begin to notice, and you're going to begin to notice, how those chronic effects of stress are really creating a traumatic effect for you. You might notice you're becoming more easily frustrated than you usually would be, and you need a little bit more time away from people to relax. And that's really hard to do because you're trying to do everything to take care of your family and your loved ones and be a good parent and be a good employee and cover all these things that are unknown to us. The advice I'm going to give to you about this situation is really twofold. First, please look back at some of the earlier videos we've done. We've had various mental health professionals join me and talk about different ways where you can manage your stress a little bit easier. The other piece of advice, and it's very general, most of you already do this anyway, take a deep breath, step away for a few minutes, count to 10, and try to gather yourself. It's not going to be the solution to all your problems, but if you get yourself in a routine of finding a way to just try to calm yourself down a little bit before the next thing comes at you, which you have no idea is coming, it's going to really help. And the last part of today's video is really focused about our educators as well as some of the care providers out there. And it's the idea about vicarious stress. Now, vicarious stress is a term you might not be familiar with, but essentially, at some point, students are going to come back into our schools. At some point, people are going to be able to re-engage in things in the community. Businesses are going to reopen. Family facilities are going to be available so you can go visit your loved ones. And the people who work in these places, whether it's schools, businesses, care centers, they're going to start actually taking on some of the stress and anxiety that you bring in. And so if you're a teacher or a business operator or someone who works in a care facility, think about that, because this time is really stressful for everyone. But when everything goes back to the way we were used to, it's even going to be more stressful for people for a period of time. And they'll need everyone in the community to continue to be very thoughtful and considerate and patient with each other. We will bounce back from this. Things will go back to the way we're used to. We don't know if that's in 2 weeks or 2 months, but at some point it will go back and the new normal will go away. While we wait for this to happen, try to stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.